Malta, that lovely sunny island. I always think of Malta. They've always been the bridesmaid and never the bride. They've come second twice. That's their highest placed rating. And they are sending Michela Pace to Tel Aviv this year with the song Chameleon. She won Malta's inaugural season of The X Factor. She also won a contract with Sony Music Italy. She's performing in the second half of semi-final 2. And Malta have a very mixed qualification record since the semi-finals were introduced. They haven't qualified for the final since Ira Losco represented them in 2016 with Walk on Water. And in actual fact, if you count it up, they're almost even Stevens in terms of how they have and haven't qualified. They've not qualified 7 times. They've qualified 5 times. And their highest place under that system, I think, has been 8th, which was Gianluca's Tomorrow. That's in recent times. That's in the last 10 years. But, Andy, good evening, Andy.
Good evening.
Michela's entry, Chameleon. What do we think? Is this going to be a chameleon on the scoreboard?
Well, I think it's their best entry since 2005. I think it's a really, really strong song. Somebody sat in a room and said, Fuego did very well last year. Shall we try that? And they did that in Cyprus and came up with an almost carbon copy. This is as close as you want to get to a song as successful as Fuego, and for it to be seen as different and fresh. So it has all the ingredients of doing very well. The only thing about Fuego was that Eleni was a fantastic dancer and singer, and she was on stage with 5 athletes. They performed perfectly. So it's a big ask to hope that a woman that's won X Factor Malta will be able to pull that off, and also to have the choreography and staging to go with it. But I think they'll do very well.
Now, you have mentioned Cyprus, and I did see Oban's ears automatically. They just went boom, straight up like that. Oban, good evening.
Good evening, Tom.
Does Malta represent a serious challenge to Cyprus's crown as Queen of the Mediterranean this year?
I mean, from one island nation to another island nation, we support our sister, Michela. Okay, whatever it is. Absolutely, Michela. What an absolute banger. I love it. I was just walking to the work today, and out of blue, I find myself saying, Chameleon. And I'm like, that's it. That's a winner song quality. It catches your ear. It catches your soul. It catches your spirit. That's the song you want to listen first thing in the morning when you get out of your house, on your way to work. And that's absolutely amazing song. I have the same feeling with Serhat. I have the same feeling with Malta.
Now, you're envisaging listening to it on the way to work. I'm envisaging it, listening to it when I'm home from work with maybe, a mojito there, maybe a nice bright summer's day. I can see this working for me. Now, good evening, Joanne.
Hi. Hi,
now,
everyone.
What are we thinking? Is Malta going to qualify this year and make it 7-6 on their qualification record? Or is this going to be destined to be stuck in semi-final 2?
No, it's a qualifier. I'm almost certain of that. It's as everyone's alluded to, it's a fantastic entry. It's the best I think that they've had for a long time. Not necessarily one that I'm a massive fan of. It's not sort of huge at the top of my list. I just have slightly different musical tastes. But at the end of the day, I just think that most people, the general public who are watching semi-final 2 are going to think, yeah, I like this and remember it. Certainly remember the verses as well as the chorus. She's a really good singer as well. The only thing that might let her down is potentially what the staging will look like.
Yes, because that's what Andy's mentioned concerns on. And I think, it's interesting because, and I'll bring Andy back in on this.
There's no reason why Malta can't do it if Cyprus can do it, as long as they have the budget for it.
True,
because it doesn't come cheap.
Yeah, but what I was going to say was, what have Malta got to do that is going to make sure that this entry, which we've said is as close to Fuego as you're going to get without being a rip-off, but without ripping off their staging as well? How would you like to see it staged?
It's still going to be staged with 4 singers and then 1 singer in the back who will be supporting the main singer. And if your main singer is dancing about on the stage, you've got to do that. It's a song contest, not primarily a singer's contest. So I wouldn't have a problem with that. How to make it a bit different? I suspect it'll be girls that don't have long hair, and apart from that, it'll be identical.
Interesting prediction. We'll see how that looks come May. Now, you can, if you are watching us live on YouTube now, hit that like and subscribe button. You can also take part in the chat room as well, where your comments are very much welcomed. And monitoring the chat room this evening is Stuart. And what's the situation like so far, Stuart?
Well, we're chatting away. It's a hive of activity on the chat room this evening, Tom. Some of the guys and girls on there are saying that Israel will finish top 15, 18 to 23rd. No one's predicting Israel will repeat last year's success, however. Malta, on the other hand, a lot of the chat room ears are predicting somewhere between 10 place, maybe better. So somewhere in that sort of realm.
So it could be a good year for Malta. Just firing this out to the panel, just based on what the chat room's saying, I'll fire this to Joe, actually. Do you think Malta will better their best 2010s placing of 8th?
Yes. I really do think potentially, yeah, she's a top 5er. There's some really good strong songs though, to be fair. But yeah, I can see this doing really well. There's a lot of songs like it as well. That's the only thing, is there's a lot of very similar songs. So it's whichever one has the momentum and there's the best staging and everything else. But yeah, I mean, certainly top 10, I think, for her.
Cool. Well, I think it's very much a case of, if she gets there, she's earned it. I'm just going to bring Stuart in on this. Stuart, what are you thinking with regards to this? Is this going to better their 2013 placing?
I agree. I think this is one of the Maltese's strongest entries for quite some time. I'm expecting it to do really well. Michela's a fantastic singer. Let's not forget she won X Factor Malta. She's won the right to represent her country. It's a really cool vibe that they're sending. Every time we hear a song which drops in places, we think Fuego now, and that's what we've become conditioned to look for in a banger. And this is a banger, Tom. But interestingly, around the songwriters, Borislav Milanov has co-written the song with Joachim Persson, the Swedish songwriter. Both songwriters have a pedigree at Eurovision. Not only has Borislav Milanov written the Azerbaijani entry this year, they both together wrote Polly's If Love Were a Crime. So real pedigree there. Oh, and also they both wrote Beautiful Mess from Christian Kostov, who nearly won it a couple of years ago, of course, for Bulgaria.
That is a really interesting pedigree. And so that's going to be really interesting when it hits the scoreboard in May. Personally, I really like this one. But unlike Open, I won't be listening to it at work. I think I'll probably be listening to it whilst I'm getting a bit tipsy instead. But we move on.